Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. It's another solo session today. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Now, if you're joining me live, drop a 1 in the comments so that I know I'm not talking to myself, and drop a 2 in the comments if you're watching the recording. So today, as I mentioned, will be a solo session where I'll be talking about becoming a leader with a specific focus on decision making and taking responsibility. So the reason for this topic is that some people struggle with making the final call, making that final decision. And especially accountants who are used to numbers where answers are perfectly correct. A number, you can work a calculation, that calculation is 100% correct. Whereas decision making is not always based on things that are 100% accurate. So leaders need to make decisions without all the necessary information available. In most cases, these decisions need to be made quickly, either to take advantage of an opportunity or to limit a loss when things go wrong. If you take too much time before making a decision, it can be equally as detrimental as making the wrong decision. Actually, taking too much time is worse than making the wrong decision, because if you make the wrong decision quickly, you will start seeing the evidence of your mistake and you can start pivoting. Whilst if you take too much time to make a decision, your problem just becomes bigger and bigger, and you don't have evidence of it, whether it's wrong or not. When I was a little bit younger, I used to be afraid of making decisions at work. I was afraid of being blamed for making a mistake. It was the perfectionist in me. I don't like being blamed for things going wrong. I'm also a bit of a perfectionist. Especially when I moved from, let's call it, junior to mid-level management positions, I generally used to have a senior who was above me, who I still need to get permission from to make the final decision. So I kept that like, oh, that's somebody else. There's always someone else there to make the call. So as a leader, I kept having to remind myself that it's my responsibility. I need to make that final call. Sometimes I still fall into old habits and look for someone to share responsibility with. But then I realized, especially once I did it one too many times, I realized what I was doing is actually giving up my power. By asking people too often for assistance, I come across like I don't know what I'm doing. So don't give away your power. Don't give up your power. A way I use to get past that fear is to ask myself this question: what am I more afraid of? So, am I more afraid of making a mistake, or do I feel the decision should not be made by someone at my level? So, if it is a fear of making a mistake, then I immediately know that I have the capabilities to make the decision and it's time to stand in my power. Especially if you're a leader, then the decision needs to be made at your level unless it needs to be made below you. But if you're stressing about it, chances are it needs to be made at your level. I'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that I don't miss them. Now, going back to decision making and taking responsibility, so it can get even messier when you work for in a smaller company where the job descriptions are not as fixed or can be a little bit vague. Sometimes you get promoted into positions without guidance on what the new parameters are for that position, and it happens. It's nothing wrong with the company. It's just sometimes things are moving so fast. In large corporates, it's easier to say this is the defined role, this is your limit, and but in smaller companies, things move quicker, or there's lots that need to be done. So either you specifically define the limits of your power, or you find out after something goes wrong, where the leaders say that they expected you to resolve something and you did not do it, and you were not aware of it. You didn't know it was in your scope to solve. And sometimes leaders, and this works across the industry, sometimes leaders assume that you know what your responsibilities are. And it's not that they are necessarily trying to sabotage you. When things are moving quickly, they have their own emergencies to deal with, and they are also human. So they also make assumptions. So the main message is try to avoid assumptions as much as possible. If you really are unsure about whether you have the right to make a decision, a way to resolve it is to send an email stating what the decision is that you've made and action you'll be taking, and then especially include the phrase unless you have any concerns. Please let me know by a certain reasonable time. So if you don't hear anything, if I don't hear anything from you, I will proceed. So that's kind of giving someone a deadline, saying that's if you're really, really, really unsure. But 9 times out of 10, it's your decision to make. So never forget that you are a leader in your own right. Even if you are in a junior position, the only way to become a leader is to show leadership in the work that you're currently doing. It was a bit of a short one today, but in closing, I want to leave you with one message. Remember, this is your life. You are responsible for it. If you want to succeed, it's on you. You can blame other people for you not succeeding, and you might be right, but the only person it will negatively affect is you. So take charge of your growth, take charge of your life. Remember, the final decision is always yours. Even if you make the wrong decision, you can learn from it and succeed. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, please share it to someone who also appreciates it. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.